This is Josh with the Synchronized Universe podcast, coming at you live from my drive home. It's a particularly rough day at work. I need to vent about some stuff I would feel. So this one's going to be about something more cosmic than my little self-help things I've done the past couple times. It's going to be talking about the whole flat earth and versus not flat earth, and the idea we live in a closed system, or that space isn't real, that I've been seeing so much of, and how that ties into what they say in the Bible and whatnot. So first of all, what inspired this is I was watching one of my friends comment on this flat earth thing, and how, God created this closed system that we live in, and there's nothing else, and space doesn't exist, all of that is a lie. And felt like I wanted to talk about it because it's something I'm interested in. I definitely, first of all, want to do a disclaimer. I do not believe the earth is flat. I do not believe we live in a closed system. I do believe that space is real. I think it's absolutely ridiculous to think it's not real. But I can see, why some people may think that. Like, for instance, this guy commented saying that, because it was a comment on an image that depicts the different sizes of planets as they compare to Earth, like Jupiter and whatnot, and the sun, and how it's way bigger, because it is, based on our scientific representation, our scientific studies and math and all the neat stuff that we've done with our satellites. We've been able to determine how big the sun is in comparison to our planet. And it's not, the thing about it is, for that, it's not just us in our current science that describe the size of the sun and that the planets are spherical in nature. It's the ancients too. So the Sumerians had depictions of all this. They had measurements of the sun. They had the rotations of the planets. So it's not just us. This is not just our modern science, explaining this. That alone, based on that, defeats that argument. It's not just our modern science trying to fool us. But anyway, the guy commented saying, we've been told this stuff since we were little. He's in defense of the flat earth. We've been told this stuff since we were little, and nobody's ever questioned it, and, science this, and the science is BS. And then he started spouting off Bible quotes, and he's, in these Bible quotes, he's talking about how God created the firmament and etc. And what I commented on his is that, so your entire life, you've been told that God did this and God did that because somebody is reading it from the Bible to you and you've read it from the Bible. But you have never questioned outside of that. You have never looked outside of that. And that's the problem, is like that argument, your argument's invalid because you, again, are being told something from somebody else. You're being told to believe something from somebody else. So, once you start to really question everything you read, I'm not saying that the Bible is false. What I'm saying is that the Bible is a condensed version of a lot of ancient truths. There is a lot of truths in the Bible, absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind that there's a lot of truths, but there's also a lot of manipulation. And, I'm a firm believer in a God. I'm a firm believer that, there is a God that created this universe. But my views are different than a lot of people who are, Bible-thumping Christians. Because, a lot of my problem lays with is that they've never thought to question outside of this book. They've never, because you're not allowed to. First of all, if you question outside of it, you're labeled all sorts of different names. Heretic, all sorts of crap. I mean, back in the day, they would kill you for stuff like that. Like, they labeled you a witch because you were like, hey, what does this mean right here? Does this mean you have to stone gay people because they lay together? Or was that maybe, quote, but the Bible verse may be mistranslated from the original Hebrew text. And that's another thing, is that the Bible was compiled by somebody else from earlier texts. And it was translated. How do we know, that it's word for word what it should be? We don't. And I promise you, if you start to research, like I've done, into ancient civilizations, ancient Sumerians, you look into the Sumerian tablets, you'll start to realize that the Bible, again, is a condensed version of other ancient texts. They continue on. It's there to create a certain picture. Now, I'm not saying, again, that the Bible is bad or in any way. There's a lot of good things that you can get out of it. There's a lot of spiritual truths that you can get out of it. But that's what you need to get out of it. The Bible is in no way a history book of our world. It's not. And I honestly feel bad for people who believe it, because you start to question that, it all falls apart. It does. Like, honestly, this is something I've been wanting to talk about for a while. I enjoy talking about it. Like, I like to debate with people about it, but I'm respectful to people's opinions. Like my mom is a really devout Christian, and I'm really respectful to her beliefs. I want you to believe in something. I want you to believe in God, and you can get there. You can get divine help. You can get that God, closeness to God by reading the Bible and doing that kind of stuff. You just need to not take it so literally. You need to take the spiritual truths from it, but don't take it so literally that you shun everything else in your society, that you don't read any other books to try to expand your mind, because that is where the trap is. Anything that is telling you can't question outside of it is a manipulation. There is no time in history where somebody's been like, you can't question it, you can't question outside this, that it's not been evil or bad. Okay, you need to understand that. Like, you got to be able to use critical thinking, and that's what they don't want you to do, because then the whole story starts to fall apart. If you want a good example of a condensed version of the story, you should read the Enuma Elish in the Sumerian the Sumerian tablets. Look into the Enuma Elish. It'll talk about the original flood story, and once you start to read the original flood story, everything starts to make a little bit more sense. Like, it's a complete version. It's a lot more complex. Human history is way more complex than God created Adam and Eve and then they spread across the world. Because first of all, again, you start to question that, it all falls apart. It all does. Because there would have to be some incest in there. Let's be straight. There'd have to be some incest. Okay? Like, it's mind-blowing, but like you start to question people about it, they immediately get defensive, and then the debate's over. Like, I talked to my mom about it, and for instance, another one, like the whole alien idea that there's people that live outside of Earth, the extraterrestrials. Like, if you believe wholeheartedly in the Bible, like my mom does, like I was debating with her last week about it. Like, here's an example of how you could put both these together. In no way does it say in the Bible that God only created man. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say he only created man. It says he created man. So there's nothing to say that the Bible isn't just mankind's creation story and that there's other, creations in the world or in the universe. Like, thinking that there wouldn't be others is putting a limitation on God's power. And according to what we know, God is omnipotent and has unlimited power. He created this universe. That's, again, this brought on this whole idea because, like, there's so many people now that are believing that the earth is flat. And, science and everything is telling them that they're wrong. I follow a book series called The Law of One, and, The Law of One gives the most complete source of spiritual knowledge that I've ever read. I've read it multiple times. It references the Bible. It references every spiritual book because there's truths found in all of them. But there is also manipulations found in all of them. Because in order to keep a populace acting a certain way, you need a set of guidelines. And that's what religion became. It became a set of guidelines to keep humanity acting a certain way. And when that's not working, because first of all, religion got really corrupt and we were killing people by the thousands because they didn't believe. For instance, the Crusades, for goodness sakes, like killing people by the thousands because they didn't accept God. That's just, it's mind-blowing that we accept that as a society. We think that that's cool. You know what I mean? We turn a blind eye. We slaughter, genocide, hundreds of thousands of people because we think that's what God would want. a God of love who loves everybody would want us to kill people because they don't believe in him. That is mind-blowing. I need you to stop and think about that. And if you think that that's okay, I need you to really, really think deeply on that. That a God of pure love would want us to kill everybody. And here's another controversial subject. The God that they're talking about that's killing whole cities because they didn't repent or this or that, that's not talking about the real God. That is the demiurge, the false God. There's both good and bad in the Bible. And you got to use your critical thinking skills to figure out which ones are which. Because again, the Bible is a compilation of a bunch of texts. And in the original, if you go back to the Sumerian text, there was God, just like the gods of Egypt. There was deities, quote unquote, that lived amongst men that were like that. In order to keep humanity under control, they would slaughter thousands of people that, stood against them. And then they wrote that down because they didn't believe. The God of this universe, the creator of this universe, is not capable of any of that. God is purely love. God is a frequency. God is going to slaughter a certain group of people and then keep a certain group of people. That is not a God of love. Okay? I want you to remember that. So when you're using religious stuff as a debate, I want you to start thinking and questioning and really understanding where your stuff comes from. Like, you don't need a pastor in church to tell you what the Bible says when you can read it for yourself. And, you don't need somebody to read you a passage and be like, hey, this is what this passage means. Because this is this person's interpretation on it. I mean, there's a book called the Companion Bible, and you can read it side by side on the Bible, and this guy's literally got, he's spent his entire life researching, the original text, the Hebrew text, and he understands what the true passages mean. And again, you can use that same debate, hey, yeah, this guy's telling you, so why should you believe him? Because he's accredited. He spent his entire life literally learning the original Hebrew text, deciphering it. So, I believe this guy a lot more than I'm going to believe somebody who went to seminary school, for example. Because the seminary school is teaching their beliefs onto the person who's going to the school. So then he's going to pass that same beliefs onto the next person. Like, somebody doesn't automatically know more than you because they went to seminary school. Somebody doesn't automatically, closer to God because of that. We're all close to God. Every last one of us. And in all honesty, if you really want to get technical, all of us are God. God didn't create everything. God is everything. That's what I want you to remember now. This is the truth. God is everything. Everything and everyone you see is God. Experiencing itself. That's what it is. That'll be it for my little debate today. Just wanted to get all this out. That was kind of a lot, I know, but hey, I'm feeling it today. I wanted to talk a little bit about it. I love debating spiritual science and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, if you liked, give it a share. Love y'all. Thank you for listening. This is Josh with the Synchronized Universe Podcast. Have a good day.